Chapter 8, The Return. By now, you would have received teaching on all of the steps and different applications of L10T, and soon you'll have many exciting stories to share with your friends, family, and those in your community. Let's take a look at some of the other examples of Luke 10T played out in the lives of others.
L10T changes lives. Firstly yours, and then those with whom you L10T. It's encouraging to read the accounts of the disciples' return in Luke 10 as they share their incredible stories.
In Luke 10:17, the 72 returned, saying, "Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name."
2,000 years ago, when the disciples of Jesus returned from the places he had sent them, there was amazing feedback. Can you imagine the stories they shared? And what's even more amazing is that Jesus rejoiced with them. In the same way, ordinary people like you and me are returning from wherever we have been during the week with glowing faces and reports of wonders, small and large, that God has done in the lives of other people, touched by Him through us.
As I tried to make L10T a lifestyle, I realized that I needed someone to walk the journey with me. It's so easy to get busy or distracted, even when your intentions are good. And this is why Jesus also sent the disciples out 2 by 2. He knew the importance of that accountability. I know myself and the pressures I face. So I found a friend, made a commitment, and we regularly meet to encourage one another and to share our stories. Sometimes we meet over coffee, other times we just send an SMS. It's not important how we do it, just that we do it.
What I've started to do is regularly meet with a group of friends so we can give feedback to one another about the progress we have been making in the journey. It's not always easy to make time, so I find the best way to chat about it is while we're down at the beach or even in the water. I know these times are just so important, especially in our fast-paced culture. It's so easy to start something and then drop it a few days or months later. But I want this to be a lifestyle change. And just like it takes time to break bad habits, it takes time to build good ones. So I've made it a priority to keep sharing, and these times are a huge source of encouragement to all of us. It keeps us going.
Matthew 13:3-23. The parable of the sower and the seeds. Jesus told a story once about a farmer who sowed seeds that fell on different ground. Some fell on the hard path and was swept up by the birds. Others fell on rocky places where the soil wasn't very deep, and although they grew for a little while, they were soon scorched by the sun. Other seed also started to grow, but was eventually strangled by the thorns. And lastly, there was those who fell on fertile soil and managed to grow deep roots and produce a plentiful crop.
Jesus tells his disciples that this parable of the different seeds is one of his key teachings. And without a grasp on this teaching, his other parables won't make much sense. We need to take note of this and apply these principles in the way in which we follow him every day and really be salt and light. When it comes to the teachings of Luke 10T, do not be so busy that you never really start. Then it will be in your case that the seed fell on the road and was devoured by the birds. You might also find that this teaching has really grabbed your heart, and then you start off well. But unless you have a support system to bring feedback to, you may find that criticism or difficulties come, and then you might just stop living it out. This would be like the seed which fell on stony places. With not much earth, the plant sprang up, but was scorched by the sun due to a lack of roots and water. Or maybe, like the case where the seeds were choked by thorns, you may start well, but you become overwhelmed by other responsibilities, and then you become doubtful in your heart. Pray that the teachings will take root in well-nourished ground and yield a plentiful crop, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100-fold.
You may forget to do LTNT, but if you do, don't be too hard on yourself and think that God's disappointed with you. Just pray that He'd give you the grace to do it better next time. Actually, you know what? It's actually kind of like surfing. When you start out, it's kind of difficult, but the more you do it and the better you get, it actually becomes like second nature.
After I first heard about the teachings of Luke 10:10, I knew that I should immediately start following the principles. So I started by asking the Lord for blessing, peace, and love on all the people and places where I moved during the day. I started by observing the people around me at work by taking note of their speech and actions and noticed that there were some of them needing salvation or healing. I then chose a few of my colleagues and even my boss, who can be a very difficult character, and started building a relationship with them. I hope to win them for Christ or back to Christ, no matter how hopeless the situation might look. I listened carefully to the talk about perceived needs of those around, and I've been trying to assist or encourage wherever I can, even if it's just a simple silent prayer. Although I was not confident at first, but after I wrote down my testimony and realized the amazing work God has done through my life, I became more confident to share this with others.
You need to have a definite plan to start and continue to carry out the teachings of L10T. And that's why it's good to have a planning schedule to keep you accountable.
There's just so many distractions that can keep us from truly making an impact as Christians. I've found that journaling and reflecting on my faith walk has helped me to set realistic goals. I started by finding a friend who would hold me accountable, and within 4 days we did the first step of L10T. Then, for the next 21 days, we daily made contact and shared the stories of what was happening. We found that it was good that we made plans for the next 12 months. We are helping each other to implement different aspects of L10T one by one.
So it started becoming part of my lifestyle, but we still have to hold each other accountable and stick to the goals that we've set. I'm really looking forward to the end of the 21-month planning period, when L10T should be a part of the way that I live. After 12 months, my friend will meet with me specifically so we can see how far we've both come in reaching the goals that we've set. And I'm hoping by the end of this year that it will no longer be steps that I'm following, but something that's just become so real and organic. And I've come to the place where I've began to be able to answer those questions I initially had, like, what does relevant Christianity look like? And what does it mean for me and my friends? And how do I share my faith with those around me?
Roleplay the story of Luke 10:17-24 in your group, letting different people tell the story of the 70 disciples' reactions, Jesus' different responses, and the 12 apostles listening to Jesus talking to them. What is your response to the story? You've heard how the disciples came back and the reaction they've had. These days, with the wealth of communication channels available to us, our ways of feedback can be very diverse and widespread. Technological advances like cell phones, online social media groups, and all sorts of wireless networks have made constant communication a part of our everyday lives. It's important that you stay in touch so that you can keep on encouraging one another. Take some time to report back on any results you've had so far since starting L10T. Also, decide together how you're going to maintain feedback in a group setting. L10T is a new lifestyle, and as people we naturally resist change. That is why feedback and accountability is such a necessary part of keeping L10T alive. Regular feedback will help remind you and assist you not to become lazy and stop. It will also help internalize this new lifestyle as we listen to others and motivate us to do more. Jesus sent the disciples out 2 by 2 because a friend can be such an encouragement. It is also easier for 2 people to keep contact using all the media available. You can also be an encouragement to your L10T accountability friend, especially if they've been turned down or received negative feedback from anyone they were trying to connect with. Take some time to thoughtfully consider and pray over or with the person you want to have as your L10T friend. If the person is not with you in this group, please discuss how you will recruit them for L10T and start doing L10T together. After you've decided who you want to walk this journey with you, approach this person and set up a practical schedule about when and how you're going to meet. Make sure that you start within 4 days and have daily contact for the first 21 days. Then set out a realistic goal for the next 12 months, whereafter you'll keep meeting. Keep each other accountable for the next 21 months, for then L10T should be a lifestyle. Write down goals of how you want to do L10T by then. The role of the group accountability, and especially interaction between L10T friends, is to assist each other regularly and to make sure each step is being done daily or regularly. They will also see that the long-term forgiveness process is being completed, that daily forgiveness and blessing is being done, and that ongoing abuse issues are being handled. You should also encourage each other in pursuing your short and long-term friendships with non-Christians and help each other address outward sin issues which might be a stumbling block to non-Christians. You should also be motivating each other to move towards asking and praying out loud for people in need and checking up that organizational level of L10T, including addressing needs, are being done. Accountability between groups and individuals will also help make sure that Take 5 is being done and that people accepting Christ as well as others are being cared for. Discuss the 4 planning periods: first 4 days, first 21 days, 12 months, 21 months, and your initial goals with your L10T friend or another person in your friend is not in this group. Now take another look at the parable of the sower and the seeds in Matthew 13, 3-23, and whilst you're watching, think about the different situations that you might face which could lead to the L10T teaching being ineffective in your life. How are you going to protect the seeds which you're receiving in this teaching? Discuss this with the group.